Hello and you're very welcome to another edition of the JMac podcast. I'm John Grant, and of course this podcast is sponsored by Orgaretcher.com and Atak.ie. Use our promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgaretcher.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be Attack White. If you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe on YouTube. It'd be much appreciated because the support's been absolutely brilliant so far. And tonight I'm joined by Prendergast from the GA Fan TV to look back on last weekend's club action, all the thrills and spills, and it was a fantastic week of club action. And really look forward to chatting to Aaron tonight. So, Aaron, how are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm doing good, John. Thanks very much for having me on. I suppose, as we were saying off air there, I've had you on my own pod there a number of times. So, yeah, no, happy to come on and review the club action because, we had so much entertainment throughout the weekend of club action. As you said there, like so many thrills and spills and so many upsets and. Probably what makes Gaelic football most exciting at the moment is the club championships because you can't really predict what's going to happen next, and then a fair amount of entertainment across the country really.
Yeah, definitely, Aaron, definitely. And yeah, it's funny, we were saying off air, obviously, maybe the club not getting as much probably media coverage and people nearly talking about it. I was talking to lads today and they didn't just tune into any of the coverage. They barely watched the Rammer and Kilcoo game on Saturday night. Obviously not a great game of football and Kilcoo did took the victory, but it's really about time, Aaron, to really start giving the club action a lot more attention that it does deserve.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And I suppose at least RTE are showing the one game a week, which is something anyways, and you obviously have the two games on TG Cahir that are broadcasted. But yeah, they definitely should do a lot more, I think, especially even some of the big companies there like RTE and Sky Sports, and whether it's Air or Virgin Media, whoever gets the coverage there, definitely maybe not necessarily showing the games, but they could at least have a show, their own kind of podcast or whatever, to maybe cover the action. And even someone suggested there before, maybe even like a club Sunday game or a club Saturday game. I know TG Cahir have that show on a Monday, which is good. But obviously that just shows the highlights. There's no analysis really of the games and whatnot. So that'd be something great if they could do that, or even on the Saturday before the games are about to start, they could look into more about clubs and the history of both clubs and how they ended up in the position that they're in and whatnot. Because I do think a lot of people sometimes when they tune into the games on RTE and TG Cahir, they haven't a diddly squat about either club, and that's kind of one of the reasons why probably a lot of people don't get invested, because it's hard to get invested into something you don't, there's no, like for example, obviously the Austin Stacks and Cairns O'Reilly's game wasn't on TV anywhere, but that was an all Tralee derby. So say, if that was on TV, they could have spoke a bit more about that and all the rest. So, it'd be great now if we could definitely get more coverage and get more people speaking about the club action, because it definitely deserves a lot of credit, especially when you see some of the games over the weekend, so many close matches. It was only a couple of months ago there we were giving out about the Inter-County Championship and all the one-sided games. Can't remember one one-sided game from any of these club or hurling championships at senior level anyways.
Yeah, spot on, Aaron, spot on, absolutely. And I suppose we could crack into it, Aaron. Obviously, the first game of the weekend was Austin Stacks against Kieran O'Reilly's, obviously at the Kerry Senior Football Championship final, so a very exciting game. Probably low scoring, but it was really neck and neck stuff. It was Austin Stack 13 points, Kieran O'Reilly's 10 points. So, Aaron, Kieran Donny, he's done it again.
Yeah, no, the journey keeps going on. It's almost, I suppose Lockmore Castellani have probably maybe won the club story of the year for what they've done in Tipperary and football and hurling. But when you look at Kieran Donaghy, the fact he's 39 years of age or 38 or getting very close to 40 anyways, and he goes and I suppose wins the Kerry Senior Football Championship, puts his side into the Munster Club semi-finals. A tremendous achievement for himself, and a tremendous achievement for Austin Stacks, their second club title since 2014. And I didn't see the game myself, but from looking at the match report and from seeing what a couple of different people were saying online, when you look at who Austin Stacks have beaten in the Kerry Championship this year, they've beaten East Kerry, they've beaten South Kerry, they've beaten St Brendan's obviously in a penalty shootout. Kenmare Shamrocks as well in the club championship, which is the other championship in Kerry. They beat them in the final, and they've Sean O'Shea and loads of good players in there. So I think Austin Stacks are probably going under the radar a bit. They've probably got one of the best defences in the country, and when you look at their route to the semi-finals, it's a lot easier than some of the sides in Ulster Leinster or Connacht. So yeah, I wouldn't sleep on Austin Stacks. Like, I'd have them as the favourites definitely to get through Munster, and then after that you're 2 wins away from an All Ireland. And I mean, what a fairy tale story it would be if Kieran Donaghy is there on Paddy's Day or whenever the All Ireland club final is going to be, and he's there lifting the trophy. I think that would probably be the perfect way to retire from senior football anyways.
Yeah, definitely, Aaron. Fair play to him. I think you were making a very good point in your podcast earlier on. Is Kieran McGeady going to be unhappy if he does have a run in the championship or in the club championship? But in fairness, you couldn't write the man off at Keys, or it'd only be right to give Kieran a bit of time with his club. But again, we were saying he did, he's delivered the goods again for Austin Stacks, and obviously he did go up against the great Tommy Walsh, who used to play for Kerry, retired recently. So it was some battle between the pair of them, Aaron.
Yeah, like from what I read online, from looking on Twitter and whatnot, like Tommy Walsh, I think it said he started the game, but I heard somewhere that he was a substitute. So I don't know if he went off and then came back on or what the crack was. But apparently Kieran Donaghy was picking him up towards the end of the game anyways, in the final 5 to 10 minutes, which, considering I'd imagine they're close enough mates down the years from Kerry football, and you've got Kieran Donaghy picking him up, and it even brings you back to when Kieran Donaghy picked up Aidan O'Shea there one of the years in the, I think it was the 2014 All-Ireland final, or 2014 semi-final maybe. So like, that goes to show you, I suppose, how versatile he is and how much he offers to that Austin Stacks team. And you've seen it even in the game that was on RTE there, like dropping in around midfield at times as well. Like, he isn't like, Kieran Donaghy isn't going to be the man that's going to score like 6-7 points and dribble around 3-4 players and get you goals and win you games. But Austin Stacks are making the use out of his physicality, and I suppose his the fact that he's a presence, and whoever he's coming up against know that, okay, Kieran Donaghy's there, we need to mark him, we need to keep him quiet, and that obviously creates a bit of space for some of the other players as well. So yeah, I'd imagine it was a tremendous battle between Donaghy and Tommy Walsh. And like what you said, yeah, I'm not too sure if Kieran McGeady would be too happy to see him. Well, like, it's not like if he picks up an injury it's going to make a difference. It's not like he's a county player or anything like that. But I'm sure when January comes around and pre-season competitions and whatnot, he'll want Kieran to be fully focused on the task ahead. So, that'll be an interesting conversation anyways.
Yeah, definitely. And it'd be interesting to see what way it goes down with Geezer, because we all know Geezer is a very stare man. And was that result expected from your point of view, Aaron?
Yeah, I think so. Like, from looking at Austin Stacks in the last game against St. Brendan's, and from looking at who they've beaten, en route to the final, and who they've beaten this year, like, they've won every game so far this year, which speaks volumes. They beat East Kerry, team that has David Clifford, Paddy Clifford. East Kerry are almost like a county side. I know they're a divisional team, but they still beat them. Came through South Kerry, St. Brendan's, and Kenmare Shamrocks not too long ago as well. And they beat Dr. Crokes in the club championship. So like, they've beaten everyone in Kerry that's there to be beaten. Fully deserved winners. And onwards and upwards for them now, going into the semi-finals, which I think is against Newcastle West of Limerick. So you'd have to fancy them to come through that, and I suppose at the very minimum anyway, make a Munster club final.
Definitely. Moving on after that, it was the Connacht Senior Football Championship semi-final between Knockmore and Tullestrane. Knockmore coming out winners in this, 10 points, and Tullestrane 8 points. So what was the verdict in that game, Aaron? Did you get any of it?
Yeah, like, I was keeping a close eye on What's the Score app, which is a very very handy app, I suppose, to be keeping up to date with club action.
There's a plug.
yeah. So having a bit of a look there and whatnot, like, definitely comes in handy. But yeah, no, like, anytime I had a look into it, I nearly got invested in having a look, because every time I clicked in, Tullestrane were winning, and they kept increasing their lead. So I was like, I think Tullestrane are going to do a big shock here. They haven't beaten a Mayo club side, I think I heard, in a long time. You nearly need to go back 15-20 years since the last time a Sligo club got a win, against either a Mayo or a Galway club. So the fact that Tullestrane were so close to pulling off the upset against the side that a lot of people have as All-Ireland contenders, I think would have been a huge shock. But no, Knockmore outscored Tullestrane 5-1 in the final 13 minutes or so, plus injury time. So I think that was the big difference. And like, Knockmore have a lot of good players that they can bring off the bench, like Liam Durkin. Like, I think he's a player definitely to keep an eye on for the Mayo footballers in the next couple of years. So they have a lot of players there that you can bring off the bench. And they do have a very young team, Knockmore. It might be a little bit, I could see Mount Belly Moylock beating them just with the experience that they have. But for Knockmore, like, they do have a lot of good young players there. And it wouldn't surprise me now if you start to see more of them break through the Mayo senior footballers now in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the Leinster Football Championship quarter-final results. You had, I'll try to pronounce this, is it the Shell Mailers? Is it the
Shell Mailers?
Shell Mailers there, goodbye.
There we go.
Shell Mailers 2-6 to Neve Martins 1-7. So not a bad win for the Shell Mailers.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one, and I suppose as you pointed out to me in one of my last podcasts, I mean, we can all get names wrong and whatnot. Like, it's not like
that's why I didn't want to pronounce it.
yeah. And to be fair, I heard someone else mention that one before, so that's the only reason how I know how to say it. But yeah, no, like that was a surprising win. I didn't see that one coming whatsoever, because like Nave Martin beat Rathvilly, they scored like 2-16, and I remember from speaking to Samuel Roy on my own podcast not too long ago, he was speaking about all the work that's been done on Nave Martin, and they've come through 2 Louth Senior Football Championships. I know Jim McGuinness has been heavily involved behind the scenes. I'm not too sure this year now, but I know last year he was heavily involved behind the scenes. So there's a lot of work being done at that club, and they're one of those clubs a bit like Mulliniochta that you feel like could potentially pull off a shock. But no, fair play to Shell Mailers. Like, they, I think they're more of a hurling club than a football club, but I think after that victory, like, that's a big victory, and to be in a semi-final now, I think against Nice, you know, look, they'll fancy their chances. You never know, and this kind of result probably shows as well that you can't, like, it's so hard to be calling these club games. Like, you look at one team and think, yeah, they should beat that other team. Like, I think Shell Mailers were like 80-1 to win Leinster before this game, and Nave Martin were actually second favourites behind Kilmacud Croke. So
right, okay.
So that just goes to show you, like, how you know, how much of a shock it was in the eyes of the bookies anyway, but how, like, we all can't really call it. Like, you can't split between all these teams. Like,
we see, Aaron, I said that to you a couple of weeks ago in your podcast. Yeah. Like, you can't call these games. It's whoever wants more. It's the last 10 or 15 minutes. That really does go to show where that's a terrific result for the Shell Mailers in that one. And just sort of got it right there. Next on, you had Naas 4-11, Blessed 1-7. And I did say to you, Naas were able to shout to win that Leinster Championship, Aaron. That's an emphatic win for the men from Kildare.
Yeah, like, and I definitely second your opinion on that one now. Like, because they play Shell Mailers in that semi-final, you'd expect them to come through that. Although, as we've seen, there's plenty of shocks in these club championships. But like, they're a very good team. What surprises me is, like, you have a player in there, and Dara Kirwan, who's not even making the starting 15. Like, he's coming off the bench. He came off the bench against Tullamore and came off the bench against in this game as well. Like, and he's one of the regular starters for Kildare. So that probably shows you the quality that they have all over the field. And Luke Griffin looks like a player who's shooting the lights out at the minute. So yeah, to rack up a scoreline of 4-11 to 1-7, you know, against the side who beat Mulliniochta, obviously, last time out, they came from behind. You know, so yeah, huge result for Naas. And as I said before, them against Kilmacud Crokes in a Leinster club final, like, Kilmacud Crokes would be the favourites, I'm sure, but I mean, Naas are one of those sides that they're definitely going under the radar, I think, at the moment anyways.
It's funny, the Blessed lads must have seen the goals going in, and the bus said, right, it's coming up to Christmas, lads, let's just pack it in for the year, Aaron. That is just an amazing result, and fair play to the Kildare lads. So let's see, can my prediction come true? Kilmacud Crokes 113, Woltones 19, Aaron, and I was saying to you earlier on, this was the Paul Mannion show.
Yeah, it really was. Like, I mean, you could see the tactics from Wolftones. Like, they were getting a lot of men behind the ball and then trying to break with pace, and I suppose trying to suffocate that Kilmacud full forward line. And I think maybe they felt like, right, if we keep Paul Mannion to around the midfield area or half forward, or keep him out for 40 yards or so, he's not going to do anything. But as we've seen, like, Paul Mannion, like, he's the man who can definitely do that. Like, you could be as deep as you want, you could be as defensive as you want, but he's the type of player that only needs half a chance. And yeah, some of the scores were just ridiculous. Like, I mean, some of them he didn't even have a right to shoot. Like, if there was any other player on that team, he'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you taking a shot from there? Yeah, like, he just plays with so much confidence, and like, the fact he's even trying some of the scores he was scoring, they weren't even chances. Like, they were he was just in possession, and he said, right, sure, I'll just have a crack. And the majority of them went over. So yeah, some left peg, as you said earlier on my show. Like, I mean, he's an incredible footballer, tremendous talent, and I think I think he'll be missed bigly by Dublin now in the next couple of years if he doesn't come back to the Dubs, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like, you do need a team to win championships, Aaron, and that's blatantly obvious to be seen. So, maybe further down the tracks, as I said to your podcast a couple of weeks ago, Kilmacud Crokes, they are a superb team, but they are quite reliant on Mr. Mannion. You do need teams to win championships. So, like, they see them for a very good team. So, Mr. Mannion, if he is to win it by himself, fair enough, but he will really need a championship to win, even the Leinster Championship, and maybe even the All-Ireland, Aaron.
Yeah, like, well, I suppose that's the thing. Like, I mean, they do have other good players in there. Like, Darren Mullen looks like a good player that can create. Like, there was one time in the game I remember where he dribbled past 2-3 players, and you thought he was going to score an absolute wonder goal. In the end, he got dispossessed. But like, he looks like a good player. And Craig Diaz in midfield, Ben Shovlin obviously got the goal against Wolf Towns as well. So they do have good players in there. Obviously, they don't have anyone near the standard of Paul Mannion, but it could be one of those things. Like, you could put Paul Mannion in the Nace team, and you could be like, Paul Mannion could be absolutely shooting the lights out there, and you could be thinking they're a one-man team. It's one of them things sometimes that I suppose a lot of people would label at certain teams when they've one big star player. But no, like, they've plenty of good talent in there, plenty of good players. But like, as you said before, Wolftown's definitely had a game plan for Paul Mannion, just to leave him out the field, leave him out by there. He won't be able to hurt us. And as we've seen, he was able to hurt Wolftowns. So, like, he'll be the main target man for... And Kilmacud Crokes will know that. Like, their manager, Robbie Brennan, will know that. They'll know that when they're going into the semi-final or final, whoever they're coming up against will probably have a man on Mannion, man mark, or maybe even double up on him. But that creates space for some of the other players then. So yeah, it's extremely fascinating. And for Paul Mannion, I mean, he's just he's an incredible asset to have in that team. But I do think there is other good players in that Kilmacud Crokes team. Maybe they don't get the credit they deserve because of how good Paul Mannion is.
Yeah, spot on, Aaron, spot on. In the next game, you Port Arlington 114, St. Noban's 112. So the Westmeath champions, they're out of the championship. So it was a good win for Port Arlington, Aaron.
Yeah, like, and a bit of hype around Port Arlington from what I've heard at the minute anyways. I actually reached out to a few people from, I think, the Leash Today podcast or something like that. Hopefully they'll be coming on my own show anyways, just to get a bit of, why is there so much hype around them or whatever. And I believe the main kind of reason for it is because Port Leash were so dominant in Leash for quite a long time, and then obviously made a couple of Leinster finals there year on year, won a Leinster club title at one stage, and Port Arlington absolutely blew them away in the final. They've won back-to-back county titles now, first time obviously being in the Leinster Club Championship with COVID last year. So, like, yeah, very, very good team. And I was having a look at a match report earlier, and they scored, I think, 1-6 to a point after like 10 minutes or something like that. And then after that, it was just manage the game, slow the game down. John Heslin didn't really, I think he only scored 1 or 2 points, which probably tells you that they were obviously doing quite a job on him. So, yeah, no, Port Arlington are another team as well. Like, even sometimes on my own Instagram account or, YouTube videos or whatever, you do get people often commenting about Port Arlington and bigging them up and whatnot, which is interesting, especially for a Laois team. But no, like, they're doing good, and that was a big win for them over a St. Loman side that have some notable players in there like John Heslin. So I'd be interested. I think they're playing Kilmacud Crokes next, so that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, definitely. In the Munster Senior Football Championship quarter-final, you had Aero Guinness 2-11, Lockmore Collide 12 points after extra time hard. So not a bad win for Aero Guinness.
Yeah, good result after extra time. I suppose the Lockmore Castellani fairy tale story had to end at some point. There was no way they were going to go all the way and win a Munster double or an All-Ireland double in football and hurling. It's just not physically possible. Like, I mean, the fact they even came through Tipperary doing what they were doing is unbelievable. Like, and to be honest, fair play to them. Like, they were actually trailing by 3 points in injury time, and then they scored 3 points, and who else but John McGrath scoring the leveler. I mean, it's almost like it is his world, and he's creating all these things to happen. It's kind of crazy. But no, Aero Guinness, like, they kicked on an extra 2 goals in extra time, and that was the big difference for them to get over the line and get that victory. And like shame for Lockmore Castellani. They play Ballygunner and the hurling next, and they probably won't win that. In all honesty, I think Ballygunner are probably going to be too good. But you know, he like fair play to them. You come through, you do a tip double, and like I mean, I'd say a lot of those lads probably don't even train. Like you're going week on week, week on week. I mean, where do you fit in the time to train and do all the rest? So to be honest, they'd probably be happy with a couple of weeks breaks now. To be honest.
Yeah, definitely be a nice break for them coming into Christmas. But their season's over. But fair play to them getting this far. And in the Ulster Championship quarterfinals, you had Clonairon 214, Kickham's Craigan 70 points after extra time. A great win for Clonairon, Aaron.
Yeah, no, big win for them. I was keeping up with some of the scores on a few different Antrim journalists and whatnot, just keeping an eye on the score and whatnot. And to be fair, Kickham's Craigan, I think they led by like 6 or 7 points early in the first 10 minutes or half time. I think they led by 7 points just at the start of the second half. So it would have been a big win for them. Like you think if they had came through that, they then would have played Derry Gonley Harps in the semi-finals. Then one of them is playing in an Ulster Club final. It would have been great for an Antrim or a Fermanagh club to get to a final. But no, fair play to Clonairon. Like they're definitely a side that's going under the radar, especially when you look at some of the players that are coming through there, like Conor Turby, Tiernan Kelly as well. So Daniel McGee, who shot the lights out from what I heard. So like they're looking pretty good, to be fair. And look, they took out Crossmaglen Rangers as well. So
yeah,
you couldn't sleep on them. Like they could they could definitely be a little dark horse or something along the way, I think.
Very good results, especially after extra time. And obviously the other game, you had Glen 118, Scottstown 12 points, and this Glen juggernaut is really going to keep going, Aaron. And obviously Conor Glass starred, Mr. Tannen up front. We had a great game as well. So the modern champions are gone, Aaron.
Yeah, no, like as we said on my own podcast there a week ago when we were kind of previewing the All Ireland Club Championship, I was definitely feeling like Scottstown would turn them over, like especially with players in there like Began and Conor McCarthy, Kieran, Darren Hughes, whatnot. You feel like Scottstown would be a bit more experienced, but yeah, it looked like Glen had been doing this for years. It looked like they've been coming through Ulster on a regular basis, and they've been, winning All Irelands and whatnot. They look like a very, very experienced side, and probably the best midfield pairing left of any side in the club championships in terms of Conor Glass, and you've also got Emma Bradley in there as well. So like they've got a tremendous amount of talent, like Kieran McFell as well. It's number 6, like really good ball carrier, good at coming out with the ball. So no, like Watty Graham's Glen, I was kind of hesitant to buy into the hype maybe a few weeks ago, because you see this all the time, a lot of hype about a lot of clubs, and I just hadn't seen enough of them play really to get on board the hype train. But 100% I'm buying that ticket to that hype train now, to be honest, because like when you're scoring 118 against a side like Scottstown, and you have I think 10 different scores from their starting 15, like that's a tremendous statistic. Like, and they may have the best midfield pairing in the country, and not only that, I mean, they have a tremendous amount of forwards and good defenders as well to go with it. So Watty Graham's Glen, I think the only kind of problem for them is they play Kilcoo next, which is a really tough game. But I think if they were to come through that, I think you'd have to put them as favourites now, like clear favourites for the All Ireland.
Yeah, definitely are, definitely. And what is this about Conor Glass? Because we did see a tweet earlier on, he was giving out about maybe he gave away a foul, but he made the effort to jump so high in the air. He just uses knee as support, and it was giving away a free against him. So, Aaron, could the GA maybe soften the blow in that? Because it was a really skillful thing that Conor did. He's absolutely flying at the minute. So my point on it probably is rewarding hard work and probably something different.
Could you say that again? Sorry, you just kind of zoned out there a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh no, it's just on Conor Glass. He tweeted today saying he was just giving out because he jumped really high in the air. He used his knee as kind of protection, kind of going up in the air to fend off the other player. So he was basically making the point that the GA bring in something that protected the players, their kind of skill, the kind of engagement in the game. So he's just making the point. It was a really good thing for him to do. So could it be brought in the GA maybe kind of soften the blows for players?
Yeah, I think they could definitely look at something like that. I mean, especially it is a big skill, obviously jumping up and catching a high ball, and it's probably one of his biggest skills. So it's definitely something maybe they could bring in. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what they could bring in like around that. But there's definitely maybe something they could do kind of in the means of that. Like, and especially when you look at Conor Glass in particular and how big of an asset he is to Derry and to Watty Graham's Glen as well. Like, I mean, obviously when you jump up and catch a high ball, and with the player that he is and the skills that he has, like it's bound that maybe other players might get injured or something else might happen. It's probably one of them things where, again, like, what can you do really? Like, because if other players get in the way and they get hurt or whatever, and if you're jumping up and one of your knees hits someone or whatever, that's just the nature of how it is, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it. Maybe there needs to be some common sense from the referee to look at the situation and be like, right, okay, he's jumped up there. It's a bit like when you're playing soccer, for example, and you jump up, to head a ball and you push back your elbows. Maybe there's someone right behind you and they see it. It's not intentional. So it might just be maybe a bit of common sense from referees or whatever to, not be given silly decisions and whatnot. But it is one of them things at the same time where you can't really control, in all honesty.
Yeah. In fairness, though, he is absolutely flying at the minute. So fair play to Conor Glass, keep it up, because it's created a lot of conversation that he's probably the best midfielder pound for pound in Ireland at the minute. Brian Fenton might have something to say about that, but we will wait and see. And go back to Saturday's action in the Munster Senior Football Championship quarter-final. You had Newcastle West 8 points, the Nyer 6 points, and Aaron, I doubt there's many getting excited about this one.
Yeah, no, to be honest, like, this was the one game, to be honest, when I was doing my own podcast, I didn't really look too much into because, like, I mean, look, fair play to Newcastle West for getting the victory and whatnot, and obviously coming through the Nire. And I suppose, like, Limerick football is on the rise a bit when you look at the county side. Don't know a whole deal about them, in all honesty. I wouldn't know a whole deal about the Nire, but sure, look, a good victory, 8 points to 6, but coming up against an Austin Stacks team, I mean, you'd have to feel Austin Stacks would pull off that victory. I mean, as much as there's been a whole host of club shocks and whatnot, surely Austin Stacks can pull that victory off.
Yeah, definitely. Not a game for the ages by the looks of things either. So in the Ulster Championship quarterfinals, you Dromore 30 points, Derry Gunley Harps 116. This game went to extra time as well, and Derry Gunley, it was a brilliant performance. The Tyrone champions to God. I know Matthew Hurley predicted Dromore for Ulster. That prediction is not going to come true, unfortunately. Yeah,
no, I mean, like, it would be easy to look at Dromore as one of the contenders, definitely, when you've got Noel Sludden in there and what Tyrone obviously done in the inter-county championship this year. But no, you'd have to give a lot of credit to Derry Gunley Harps. I mean, that was a tremendous victory. Coming through, getting the victory in extra time as well. Like, I believe they hit a couple of late scores late on to level the game, and then in extra time just had a bit more in the engine than Dromore. And I suppose for Dromore, like, their story obviously coming through Tyrone has been coming from behind and bringing players off the bench. You've seen against Tralee in the county final as well. Like, they rally a lot late on in their game, so maybe they just ran out of fuel, ran out of energy, I suppose, in this one. But yeah, no, I didn't see this one coming either, because I suppose maybe it's easy to look at a Tyrone-based club and a Fermanagh-based club, and you'd say, oh, well, the Tyrone-based club should be the one that should get the victory. But no, like, Derry Gunley Harps, phenomenal victory. And you'd have to say, like, with the fact that they were so dominant coming through Fermanagh, they're obviously a very experienced team. They're used to winning games, and it's one of them things where winning breeds confidence. So, no, like, they're, you can't sleep on them going up against Clan Éireann, who probably are a little bit inexperienced themselves. So, yeah, Derry Gunley could be a bit of a story there, and maybe make an Ulster final.
Yeah, definitely. That's a terrific result for them. And obviously, Dromore are a very favourite team up at Tyrone there. A lot of people are saying, does that put a bit of dower on the Tyrone Championship? Our teams as good as people think they are. So, really, it is a terrific result.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I suppose win as comfortably as they did in the end in extra time, like 6 points, and they got a goal in extra time as well. And it does show as well, like in the club championships, how open it is, how a lot of teams can nearly beat anyone. Like we were saying earlier about Turles Strand nearly getting a victory over Knockmore, like, and I suppose the narrative maybe of one county being better than the other because of how it is at inter-county level definitely isn't true. And no, for Derry Gonley Harps, a huge victory. And I suppose for Dromore, like, it'd be a tough one to take for them. First time coming through Tyrone in a while. They definitely would have been expected to probably make the final, maybe, like, given the players that they have. But I suppose it goes to show that, you can't write anyone off in these club championships. And I think Derry Gonley's win is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, definitely. And then the game on Saturday night, you had Kilcoo 3-13, Robbie United 1-8, and it took place at Breffni Park. It was not RT2 at 6 o'clock, and it was for all of Ireland to see. Unfortunately, a Cavan team get probably a bit of annihilation, but in fairness, this Kilcoo juggernaut, Rabber, suffered at the hands of it, and it was just a terrific performance. Probably one of the best performances I've seen in the club game. Mickey Board, Colin Gilligan, just superb coaches, and obviously Conor Lafferty on the field of play, or orchestrating everything. So it was brilliant. But what can you really say about this, Aaron? It was just a golfing class.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it was a close enough game, to be fair, going into the final 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. Like, there wasn't too much between the sides. It was really just in the final 15, 20 minutes where Kilcoo really kicked on, especially in that third quarter. When Jerome Johnson gets a couple of goals and whatnot, like, Kilcoo really just kicked on from there. Like, but as you said, for Ramor United, I mean, fair play to them. They gave it as good as they got it. They got that early goal from Sean McAvoy, and they were certainly putting it up to Kilcoo. I felt like in the first half, Kilcoo were struggling a little bit to settle into the game. Started the second half, they struggled a good bit with their kickouts. I remember there was that chance from James Brady who hit the post. Like, if that goes in, it would have been a level game going into the final 15 minutes. You just never know. I think that was the turning point, really, because it was only a couple of minutes later that Kilcoo got a goal going down the other end. So, I mean, they just have a whole host of players all across the board. Very experienced team, obviously used to winning matches as well. Came through Ulster in 2019 and, very, very close to beating that Corofin side in the All-Ireland final. So, tremendous amount of players in there. The Brannigans, obviously, Jerome Johnston, Caleb Doherty as well. Eugene Brannigan standing out, not just because he was wearing a tracksuit, but I thought he was also doing a lot.
Yeah. Was that skins or a tracksuit? I don't know what it was, Aaron.
I'm not too sure now. Like, they were saying skins, but I don't know. Would that not be a bit uncomfortable? I don't know, but yeah. No, but fair play to him. Like, he was look, whatever he was wearing, it was working anyway, because he was very comfortable on the ball. He was doing a lot of work around there, and they march on now to, I suppose, a mouthwatering game against Watty Gramesglen.
Definitely. I suppose what impressed you most about Kilcoo, Aaron, because obviously, like, it was a really, really good, like, probably a perfect example of an attacking bit of play. The runners through the middle, they're very they're not like physically big men, they're just very, very good athletes. Runner, like, as I said, that I think that number 7 was a Kieran Brannigan, is it, with the shorts?
Or Eugene Brannigan, I think.
Yeah, Eugene Brannigan, they'd obviously Jerome Johnson inside, and obviously, as it was referenced, Conor Lafferty as well. So what impressed you most about the Mar? Because realistically, we're talking maybe about, and I tweeted this on Saturday, the new Crossmaglen.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, they'll need to start winning, obviously, Ulsters on a regular basis in All Ireland before you could probably start comparing them to Crossmaglen, but they're definitely on that track anyways. And I think the most impressive thing about Kilcoo is that they don't have, like say we were speaking earlier about Kilmacud Crokes and we're saying Paul Mannion. I mean, like, I suppose for Kilcoo, they don't have an individual star that you look towards. It's just a whole host of different players from everywhere, really. Yeah. And Jerome Johnston looks like a top-class player. Caleb Doherty looks very good as well. Sheelan Johnston, good addition in there as well. And then you've obviously got a tremendous amount of experienced players like Conor Laverty and Aidan Brannigan coming off the bench. So their age profile is perfect. And they're used to winning as well, and I think that's an important thing. Like, they probably, that All Ireland final was probably the last time they've lost, at least at championship level anyway, taking the league out of the equation in probably a long time. So, they're a side that's used to winning, coming through these games. They have the experience there, and I think the most impressive thing for me anyway is how they work as a team, and they don't have that one individual player. And the funny thing is as well, like, they beat Ramor United by 11 points. And you were kind of thinking, like, they could have even won that by more. They could have. There's still another gear they could go up on. I don't think Ramor United were that bad. In all honesty, like, I think they had some good moments. So definitely another level I think Kilcoo can go up on, which I think is, I suppose, a little bit frightening, I imagine, for some of the other teams.
Yeah, like the scary thing is, like, Kilcoo looked like they could have played another 35 minutes. There's just that serious legs, and I keep saying the athleticism off them. Like, Robert got that goal, but it's nearly a case of, right, you could do this, we could do it better, kind of thing, to a degree. And I suppose there, like, what can Robert maybe learn from that game? Like, obviously to get to a Cavan Club Championship final again, it's a lot of steps you need to go through, and obviously the stages to get there again next year. But what could Robert maybe learn? Like, it wasn't a bad performance. And I talked a lot about James Brady, bit of an off day for him. His brother Jack was playing a centre half back, didn't really get going himself. Sean McAvoy done very well for the goal. But what can maybe Robert learn from all this there?
Well, I suppose, like, from what I've learned anyway, is that they're a young enough team, obviously coming through the Cavan Club Championship for the first time in a while. So look, if they were playing, they could have been playing maybe a Clan Aaron or a Derry Gauntly Harps, maybe they might have won the game. You just never know, like, with the players that they have. When you're coming up, probably you're playing one of the All Ireland contenders in your first day out in the Ulster Club Championship. So I'm sure they'll take a lot from it. Like, I'm sure they'll look at it and think, that early set at the start of the second half, it looked like they had Kilcoo for, a brief moment. There was only 1 or 2 points in it. James Brady gets that chance and hits the post. If that goes in, you never know, especially with it being in Kingspan Breffni, like, home crowd probably would have got behind them. So I mean, you never know. Like, they might have gone on and won that game potentially. But I suppose they will take, obviously, a couple of missed opportunities there, a couple of missed chances, and I think that'll be the big learning point, I suppose, from a Ramor United point of view.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Sean McAvoy, he done extremely well for the goal, Aaron. And, like, I think that's probably what Cavan absolutely need. But there's talk of him maybe being poached for soccer at the minute, Aaron. He's an absolute, So he's a sensational prospect. I think he's only 19 years of age. So he took the goal really well. He showed so well. That's what Cavan have been lacking, I'd say, literally the last 5 or 6 years, Aaron. So if he wants to stay about, he'd be moonwalking onto that Cavan team, Aaron.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like, as I was saying earlier, like, be interested. I haven't heard of him personally up until that game, but when you're watching him, you're thinking, yeah, this guy's only 19, and the talent that he has. I mean, he's one of those players that skip the under-20s or whatever, just go straight into the seniors there, go on the bench. And especially, like, I'm sure you know this better than me, but with the Cavan footballers obviously going all the way down to Division 4. I know they won an Ulster Championship there 2 years ago, but there probably is a bit of a need to maybe not necessarily change everything or change too much, but just a little few tweaks here and there. And probably, if you have a couple of players there on the bench, you might take the spots of Gerald McKiernan or some of the other lads in there. Maybe then some of those lads might start pulling their weight up a little bit more in National League games rather than in the Championship, So if you've better players in the squad, like, better competition for places, and that would probably be something that would be great for Cavan, and be great for Sean McAvoy as well, then, to come into a Cavan side that I'd feel anyway should be getting out of Division 4 and winning a couple of games. It'd be good for him. It'd be a great time to start playing for Cavan. But as you said, he's probably going to be poached by soccer, and as we see, unfortunately, because the GA isn't a professional organisation. I mean, if you're being poached by the AFL, soccer, or any other sport, it's there's only really going to be one outcome there.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose what we're maybe Robert lacked, because obviously we did see that they do have 3 very, very good full forwards. So AJ Cole, he's been around the block a long time. But watching all there, what maybe were the lacking up front? Was it just that bit of guile, that bit of cuteness, that bit of experience? Because we did see, obviously, Q, they were given a point that went wide, and obviously they just kind of ran up the pitch and got on with it. Obviously, they had the experience. You even see it's kind of like, was it the first or the second half, they drew a foul that obviously wasn't the foul, the Conor Lafferty drew the man's arm in. So that bit of cuteness. So maybe what were Robert lacking going forward, I suppose, there?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there in some ways. I mean, I think it was possession as well. Like, because when Ramor had it, they were very direct. They were trying to make things happen, and they were creating problems for Kilcoo. But maybe there might have been a couple of times where you hold possession, you slow things down, and especially when Kilcoo started gaining a bit more momentum. Like, you could see Kilcoo positionally, the way they were playing, passing it from side to side and keeping possession really well, waiting for the space in front of them. They were kind of outworking Ramor United in Ramor's own full back line, half back line. They were just waiting for the spaces, hitting it from side to side, waiting for opportunities to come up. Whereas I suppose from a Ramor United point of view, I felt like maybe the times they were being a bit too direct and maybe in doing so losing possession a little bit too easily. But like, that's one of them things that comes with experience, especially when you're a young player. A lot of them lads probably felt like at the start of the second half they had Kilcue maybe on the ropes. Maybe they had a bit of a chance to maybe turn them over and get another goal or whatever, when maybe keeping possession would have been better to work a point. So it's one of them things that you learn as you go along. But like, they can hold their heads up high coming through Cavan, and look, they weren't terrible against Kilcue or anything like that. They had they definitely had their moments, and with a bit more luck, maybe it could have been a different game.
Yeah, definitely are. Obviously, lastly on it, this Kilcue juggernaut, Aaron, they're looking good, as they said at the start. Like, it's basically all the aces up their sleeves, the forwards, the Conor Lafferty on the field, basically orchestrating everything. Colin Gilligan, he's a superb trainer. Mickey Bourne, quiet man, goes about his business. He wins titles. He's a very successful man, Aaron. So the sky's the limit. Yeah,
absolutely. And after coming through the Ulster Club Championship in 2019, I mean, that was the Achilles heel for them. That was the one thing that they couldn't do. They done that, beat Ballyboden St Enda's in that semi-final, and then very close to beating Corofin. So, they're definitely the most seasoned side anyway, the most experienced team of all 4 provinces. They're the side that you would look at and think could go on a bit of a run and could definitely win the Ulster and the All-Ireland. I suppose for them, the problem is, the second best team to them, or whatever order you want to have it, could be Watty Graham's Glen, and do Kilcue maybe need a few more games before they face a Watty Graham's Glen? Are Watty Graham's Glen getting them at a good time because Kilcue haven't been tested hugely just yet? I don't know. Like, that could be an interesting one. And as I said before, I think the winner of that game, to be honest, I think the confidence and the momentum it would give them, I think they're the favourites at that point, in all honesty. But as you said before, like, with the players that they have, with the experience that they have, and the way that they play as well, like, you feel like they can always hit it up a different level as well. So yeah, I mean, Kilcue they're gonna take some beating anyways.
Yeah, we cannot wait for that Kilcue game, Aaron, in a few weeks' time. It's going to be sensational humdinger, and keeps the club action live, Aaron, because it's great that we're doing a bit of work to kind of keep people interested, I suppose, Aaron. But Aaron, thanks a million for joining me this week, and of course, if you want to give your page and all your YouTube page and everything a plug there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can find GA Fan TV on YouTube, GA Fan TV on Instagram, on Twitter there as well. Facebook as well, so you can find us on all different platforms. GA Fan TV on YouTube, just look at all the club games, as well as yourself, different podcasts with players and interviews and some live match reaction straight after the game as well. And then on Instagram, just keeping people up to date with different scores, different games, news, whatnot, what people are saying, what the discussion is on Twitter and all the rest. So GA Fan TV on all platforms. If you search it in, you bang it in there, you'll find us anyways. And if you could follow, subscribe, or whatever, it'd be much appreciated.
Super stuff. It's a super channel. He's outdoing the rest of us, so it's about time we catch up with him. Aaron, it's terrific work. It's absolutely terrific work. So keep it going, man, and long may it continue. Aaron, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is sponsored by Orgaretcha.com and Atak.ie. Use my promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off at Orgaretcha.com and get the best skins, gloves, and equipment at Atak.ie. Be Attack minded. And if you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe on YouTube. It'd be much appreciated. And thanks for all the support so far. Aaron, you're an absolute gentleman. Thanks a million.
Yeah, sound good. Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries, sir. Take it easy.